All right, we're taping this almost 8:45 Pacific time on Sunday night. Just watched one of the worst football games I've ever seen in my life. I didn't want to start the podcast with that. America deserves better. Let's start with this, Sal. Are we going to have a season without an MVP? Should we roll it over like skins? What do you think? Roll it over? Next year's word 2?
Your buddy Gus, now my buddy, but your buddy first, runs this pool for many, many years, probably 30 years. I don't know how long. And if you tie, you do picks head to head. And if you tie, you roll it over. And the winner, sometimes it rolls over. So, yeah, I think that's not bad. By the way, Gus on the seat of his pants right now, waiting, refreshing to see if Max Scherzer signs with the Mets.
I know. What a Mets weekend. The Mets actually started splurging. Unexpected.
The Mets helped out my Cowboys. But yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe you get 2 MVPs next year, because it doesn't seem like, I feel like any other year you got 3 guys, you and I are screaming for Rodgers or Brady or somebody, but nobody wants it. Nobody wants this award.
I looked at the MVP on FanDuel thinking one guy would jump out. So Brady's 3-1.
Oh, they have it up already. Okay.
Allen, this was an hour ago. Allen was plus 380. Rodgers was plus 750. Mahomes plus 750. Kyler's 8-1. We haven't seen him in a month. Dak 10-1, who's looked like crap for 3 weeks. Lamar's 14-1. He threw 4 picks today. Jonathan Taylor 16-1. Herbert 16-1, who had 15 terrible passes today. Stafford 16-1, who's breaking down. Burrow's 36-1. Carr is 36-1. Mac Jones 80-1. You can put some Mac Jones action in. Out of all those names, I was thinking the one that makes the most sense is Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. The guy who basically lied to everybody and wasn't vaccinated and has caused 17 scandals and shit on his team. And meanwhile, he's shitting on a team that looks like, other than maybe the Patriots, has the best 1 through 53 roster in the league. And he's been shitting on the front office and the ownership for a year because he's a diva. But I like that team. Anyway, he can't win. So back to the original point, I think the answer is Nick Folk. I think he's been the most impactful, important guy this year. He is lights out on field goals. Mark Mosley, we have precedent. Mark Mosley won in 82 during the strike season.
What did he do?
I think
Nick
Folk's our MVP.
I mean, that's
I think
funny.
Nick Folk, 5 field goals today, 21 fantasy points. I think that's our answer.
Yeah, all right. I mean, there's a guy with 8 interceptions on the Cowboys. We can count him. But yeah, it really could be any of them. Because you have, this year, the number 1 seed is the Ravens. And I'm sorry, I know the result of that game means you guys are not the number 1 seed just yet. But all right, yeah, like you said, the guy who threw 4 interceptions propelled his team to the number 1 seed after week 12. And on the other side, the number 1 seed, Kyler Murray, hasn't played in a month, or it'll be a month by the time he suits up next week. So it is really ridiculous that nobody wants this award at all.
Well, how about this?
I agree.
The Pats, I think, are the odds-on favorite to probably end up with the number 1 seed at this point. They don't have an MVP. I'm joking about Nick Folk. They don't have an MVP candidate. Who's the MVP on the Pats? We don't even have one. Arizona, if Kyler misses a month, he's not winning it. So it's a really weird year.
Does Brady have a game where he's like, all right, screw this.
Yeah, I'm rolling it up.
That's it. And his last game like that, maybe it wasn't his last one, but was against the Falcons. He plays the Falcons again, this time in Atlanta this week. So maybe he's like, hey, just let me do my thing. I gave Fournette 4 touchdowns today. I'm going to get 5 myself, and we're going to put this to rest with a month left.
I don't think, as a longtime Brady guy who's watched him for 2 decades, he still doesn't look 100% comfortable.
No,
compared to where he normally does. Yeah, he doesn't
early on. Takes him forever to warm up.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he wants to take hits early. Seems like he gets rid of the ball a little faster than maybe he should. Doesn't want to stay in the pocket, and then when they really need him, he comes through. But you look at the passing leaders. So he was through 10 games. He was almost 3,200 yards, 29 TDs, 8 interceptions. Is that current? Have they played 10 games or 11? I think they played 11. So he's on pace for high 4,000s and, mid 40s TDs. So you're right. If he has the one game where he has 6 TDs, lights it up, pours it on, all of a sudden it'll.
Yeah, they're 8-3. If they go
8-3, that's what
4-2. If they, even if they're 12-5, which I don't know, they have the Panthers, the Falcons, the Saints, the Jets, the Panthers again. I mean, they're going to be fine. They're going to have 13 wins.
Here's how bad it is. I'm bored talking about it. The audience is bored already. We spent 3 minutes on it. There's no answer. Here's another thing that we were texting about today that I thought would be fun. If you had a fantasy draft just for the last
well, this got ruined.
last 5 weeks of the season, we just start over. It's like, I'm out. Like in our keeper league, I'm out. I got officially knocked out today.
Good.
If we just want, screw you. If you just said, hey, I'm starting a 5-week fantasy league. Let's just do rounds. We won't do an auction. We'll go crazy. It's kind of crazy what the order would be. I made my list. Why don't we just go back and forth?
All right. Well, I didn't know if we were going to do it because you came up with this idea. I was like, this is great. And then Debo and Dalvin Cook went out on back-to-back plays. I'm like, oh, I don't know if those guys are coming back.
They're not on my list.
I'll tell you one thing. I wouldn't take a quarterback till the 15th round. Right? Like, who the hell would you take first? But go ahead. Let's hear yours.
Well, Taylor has to be first,
Taylor.
right?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
And if we were starting next season's draft right now, I think Taylor would also be first, right?
It's close. What if Derrick Henry comes back in January and has like 2 really good playoff games? But yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you're right. It would be one of the two. I think Eckler would be number 2 for either conversation. The last 5 weeks of the season draft or next season, he'd be 3 probably behind Henry and Taylor, right? Eckler, every game is putting up points. He's either scoring or he's doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets weird. I don't even really know who the third pick would be, but the candidates, I mean, I would have had even Nick Chubb in the conversation until I watched tonight, right?
Today. Yeah.
You could say maybe you go receiver and you think about, this is crazy, Debo Samuel, who's now hurt, or Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Because they've been the 2 most productive receivers.
Is Debo, why don't we get dual, when is he eligible at running back? It's got to be soon, right? He's put up more. He's got more touches than a lot of running backs.
They do this in baseball, and it's fun where you have like the guy, if he plays 1 inning in the outfield, all of a sudden he's eligible there. It should be one of those things.
I mean, he's running. He's getting how many touches does he get on the ground? It's crazy.
If it's 5 carries in a game, it feels like you should be eligible running back unless you're a quarterback.
Yeah, but
anyway,
you're right.
I think
Camaro, you don't know if he's coming back. You don't know what's week to week. Chicago, Cincinnati. Mixon's been pretty good.
Mixon I had on there.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen kind of has to be on there because if you're talking about what quarterbacks do I trust the most, you would say Josh Allen, then Mahomes, then Tom Brady, right? Those would be your top 3.
I guess.
Lamar can't be in there. Lamar has games like he had today where he just stinks.
I would wait on all those guys. Fournette, maybe.
Fournette, think how crazy that is.
It's insane.
This is why fantasy is the dumbest fucking thing on the earth. And we say this every year. It's like, why do we do it? Why do we do it to ourselves? Look at this. Debo Samuel and Cooper Kupp would be our 3rd and 4th picks.
Yeah. I can't even get to 10. I can't even give you a first round.
I got a couple more. I have a couple more I like. Cordarrelle Patterson, I think, has to be in there, especially with these last 5 weeks. I think he's going to put up garbage time stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tyreek and Justin Jefferson, just from the offenses they're in, and they can have the random 30-point thing. And then Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. Other than that, now you're moving into Nick Chubb and that kind of guys, the guys who can just do nothing.
We would have had DeAndre Swift on that list this week, right? If he didn't get injured,
right?
He was tracking towards a good ending.
And by the way,
not too many. It's very weird this year.
Until today, and I'm sure it shifted. I haven't looked at it, but Jalen Hurts was the number 2 guy for fantasy points heading into today's games. It was, I think Josh Allen was first. Now, some people had played 10 games and some people had played 11.
Mm-hmm.
But Jalen Hurts, who I think, was he drafted in our league, in either of the 2 leagues we're in?
I don't think he was. No, he was
right?
an add-on early for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So heading into today, just in our league that we've been in for a million years, it was Allen 1, Hurts 2, Brady 3, Mahomes 4, Herbert 5, Stafford 6, Jackson 7, and Taylor was the first running back.
It's a crazy year, and this week was despicable, I have to say. And I don't like saying it because football's going to be gone, and then I'm going to have to listen to you talk about the Celtics, even though you think they're a 500 team right now. They'll win like 7 in a row, and you're like, Tatum's back. I'm taking them 6-1 to win the East. And I'm like, oh, shit. I wish football were around. So I don't want to say, I'm not going to get caught in the season is too long and everything, but this was a very bad week. And I'm not just saying that because my Cowboys lost, but start with the Bears-Lions, a game we all knew was going to be horrible. Then the Cowboys-Raiders, which was the most watched regular season game of all time, also set a record for penalties, 14 or more on both sides. Hadn't happened in 30 years or so. And then this morning, there were 25 turnovers in the 7 games. The 3 late afternoon games had 9 turnovers in 3. I don't even know how many in that crap fest we saw right now between the Ravens. I mean, he had 3 interceptions in 6 attempts, Lamar, at one point. I think they had 5 turnovers in 3 minutes in the second quarter or something. Really,
there was one moment in the late games where there were pick sixes within 15 seconds of each other.
Right. Yeah.
Kyle and I were saying, Kyle and I watched the Pats game. I don't know if you saw it, but the Pats won again.
Yeah. Shouldn't have covered. You
watch all these quarterbacks, and I don't know where Mac is on the ratings and the yardage and stuff, but Mac seems like he's as good as all of these guys. Every guy I'm watching, he's either better than or as good as. Even like Herbert, who I love. I'm a huge Herbert guy. I think he's really fun to watch. But
what happened to him this month?
He was horrendous today.
Yeah.
Like awful. Like really cost him the game. He was throwing everything 200 miles an hour. The Eckler pick 6, which went off Eckler's hands, it happened because he whipped a fucking line drive at him. He couldn't hold on to it, but I thought he was discombobulated all over the place and really bad. And
I don't know
how a game like they needed.
Measure who's good or who's not, but with Mac Jones, like you're getting to the point where if he makes a mistake, you're surprised. You're more surprised than a lot of those guys you just named, like Herbert and Lamar Jackson, and for sure Baker or Ben or any of those guys for sure. But he makes two bad throws a game. What he has, I was talking to my dad about it. We were laughing. He inherited the Brady luck, and I'm going to knock on wood as I'm talking about it. He inherited the Brady thing where every game somebody drops one of his picks, and it's always his worst throw of the game, and the guy always drops it. And this was Brady for 20 years with us. And then he'll have one play where he'll kind of sail it over an open guy. Other than that, he's lights out. And you're right. When he messes up a pass, it's surprising, which I think is a good sign for your quarterback. Another good sign, you allowed 270 yards rushing against Tennessee, who I don't know if you noticed how closely you're watching, but Derrick Henry is not part of that backfield. And you still won.
Sweating it out.
Fucking 23 points. What the hell?
In defense of the team that should be the 1 seed right now, I do think it was partly the game plan because they had a lot of D-backs out there and they were basically wanted Tennessee to run. But I don't think it was in the plan to give up 68-yard runs to a fifth-string running back. Their defensive line, I thought, got kind of dominated by Tennessee. Really pushed back for the first 3 quarters. Then fourth quarter, they turned it around. But it made me think as I was watching it, it made me more and more concerned about the Colts in the playoffs. And then the Colts do us a massive favor. They blow the Bucs game. And you were on it. You talk about Wentz is like a 90-minute. He's got a good 90 minutes in him. He's like a Liam Neeson movie. Right. You don't want to go 3 hours with Liam Neeson, but 90 minutes is great. Wentz is he's got that good 90 minutes, but if there's an intermission in the second act, he's in trouble. And you're just waiting for him to turn into Wentz. It's all right, it's going to happen. And then it does. Right. And then he does it, and all of a sudden the Bucs are winning.
Can I introduce something? I don't know what we want to call this. Right now I have it's the Logan Roy player of the day. Who got the most fuck offs around the country? Now, I guess you could check Twitter for negative tweets and negative impressions and all that.
This is good. The Logan Roy word of the day. I like it.
So who told which quarterback to fuck off the most today? Was it Cam, Kirk Cousins, Wentz?
Oh, no, it's definitely Kirk Cousins.
Well, hold on. Herbert, Stafford, Herbert, Big Ben, Wentz, Kirk Cousins.
Come on. Kirk Cousins,
I guess it's
on a pivotal play, lined up behind the right guard.
That happens a lot.
And had to call timeout. He had to waste the timeout so that they could have a timeout, and then they could come out of the timeout, and he could sail a pass wide open over a wide open Justin Jefferson's head.
You know what's great about that?
That was an actual sequence that happened.
You know what's great about it? FanDuel put out, I don't know who's running their account, but they're editorializing. Their actual tweet was the Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to $66 million extension to have him line up behind the guard to take a snap. It's oh, wow.
FanDuel did that?
FanDuel did it. Yeah. It's on Twitter. That's where I saw the clip. I was like, this is great.
We had the Vikings in $1 million picks, which we got mildly crushed this week. But we did the picks on Tuesday, and the Everson Griffin thing happens after, and it's oh my God, this is. And you're thinking all right, maybe they can hang around. I don't like the vibe. And Cousins, man, there are these games where you're just aren't you supposed to be the leader of the team?
Yeah,
aren't you supposed to be the inspiration, like The Rock? And he has this body language, he's watching somebody give him a parking ticket, he's standing next to his car, going oh man, really? Was only here for 2 minutes. I'm just getting a coffee. That's his demeanor. He's the leader of the team.
He has monster players going for the ball when he chucks it up too, right? Like Thielen's still great. Jefferson. I mean, he can't go wrong. All right, so he's the Logan Roy player of the week.
Well,
player
here's
of week 12.
I texted my buddy Jeff, diehard Vikings fan.
Mm-hmm.
I texted him at 4:24. It must have been after a terrible Cousins played. The Vikings, what a bunch of gutless shits. And he texted me back, I felt it happening at the end of the first half, shut it off, and left the house.
Wow.
They have no escape velocity from mediocrity. And then I was texting him back. I'm like, they got the ball back, 2 minutes left. And he's like, I can't turn it on. I'm not doing it. It's just out. It's like literally divorce the Vikings.
He needs to give us a heads up so we could bet 49ers in the second half if he has such a...
The 49ers, I mean, they've won 3 in a row and they stink. And the playoff picture is so horrendous.
I look at that. I was going to ask you.
Minnesota is the 7th seed. Did you look at the playoff standings?
Yeah,
they're in the playoffs right now. That team sucks.
But even the AFC side, like which 6-5, 6-6, 6-5-1, whatever the hell, which team scares you? Are there any of them that scare you in that 6-7? You can't trust any of them. You can't trust the Vikings. You can't trust the Browns, or you can't trust even the 49ers. Like, all right, they've won 3 in a row, but they lost to Colt McCoy by 2 touchdowns 3 weeks ago. That was a November game, right?
Also, if they have a lead, they feel like a different team.
Yeah.
But if they're down 7, I don't trust them. So if the season ended today, it would be Packers, Vikings. It would be Bucks, 49ers.
Oh, these are the matchups. Yeah.
And Dallas Rams and Cardinals would be the bye. I don't think we would have anything under a 3-point favorite. I think everything would be like 6 points and up in that. AFC would be Pats, Chargers, bring it on.
It's fun.
Titans, Bills. A lot of Frank Wycheck anniversary highlights. And then a little Chiefs, Bengals would be the 4-5.
Wow.
So not bad. I got excited as I was looking at it.
Bengals are plucky. They could stick around.
The problem with this season and why it's been so hard to bet these last few weeks is I was watching Denver today, right? Like Denver, I bet on them 2 weeks ago against Philly, and Philly demolishes them. Just kills them. You feel like, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I can't even remember. It was one of my, they're just destroying
2 weeks ago? Yeah.
And then you watch Denver today, and it's like their defense is flying around. The whole sideline's locked in. Guys are jumping off the sideline to high five guys after plays. They're running the ball. They look like the team I thought I bet on against Philly. Of course, I bet on Philly this week. The team that played Denver is, I don't know, it's like the Jekyll and Hyde version.
Yeah.
And they go against the Giants and they do everything they possibly can to lose the game. 4 turnovers and a drop touchdown at the end of the game. And they still almost won.
Jalen Hurts, he had 3 interceptions and 98 yards passing going into that last drive. And I was like, wow, has anyone had such bad passing? I know he ran for 77, but he had a chance to be like under 100 yards and win that game. And the Giants just they tried to blow it. They just couldn't do it.
He had the worst body language. I also it's kind of hard for me to believe he was putting up those stats because when you watch him, he goes back to pass and he just stares at who he's going to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
For 5 seconds. And then he throws it. And that one pick he threw, the Giant safety, was like, oh, he's going to throw it to this guy because he's staring at him and basically pointing at him. I'm just going to run over and take it.
I don't know what happened. He's been much better in the last few weeks. I watched him closely for some reason. He's been better, like taking angles and stuff.
He just was bad. You could feel it immediately. Yeah, he just didn't have it.
Yeah.